Hello class. We are going to learn how to use the potentiometer today. So I want you to go ahead and open up a template from the PLTW folder like we learned in the last class. If you need help with that, please raise your hand. And we are going to title our project Potentiometer. And make sure you put in your team members' names, the current date, and your current section. Within the task description, I typed up here, we are going to use the potentiometer sensor to start and stop both of our motors. We will also create a loop so the program continue running forever. So within my pseudocode, I am creating the loop first, and then I'm going to say when the potentiometer, I shorten it to P meter, is greater than 700, I am going to start both motors at half speed, and then when the potentiometer is less than 100, I am going to stop both of the motors. So let's go ahead and get started. I'm going to scroll down to where I can see task main. Before I even start here, I'm going to set up my motors. We'll go ahead and go to motor and sensor setup, and within the motors tab, in port 1, we are going to type in left motor again. By now you should be getting pretty good at this portion. And it's a VEX 393 motor. And then in port 10 you're going to type in right motor. Also a VEX 393. Click apply. Don't click OK yet. We're going to move on to the potentiometer. Potentiometer is an analog sensor because it has multiple values. And we're going to do that in the analog port 1. So make sure that your potentiometer is plugged into analog port 1 in your Cortex. And I'm going to just name that P meter. And the type of sensor, it is a potentiometer. Click apply and then click OK. As you can see at the top here, it added all that extra code in there for me. And I'm ready to get started. Alright, within the task main, I'm going to tab one over to try to stay organized. And the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to create my loop. If you remember back from the first time I had you type up a program, a loop can be created by typing the word while, and parenthesis is just above the 9 key, so you hit Shift 9. 1 is compared, so two equal signs, to 1. And when 1 is compared to 1, 1 is always equal to 1. And above the 0 key is the closing parenthesis. Now, while 1 equals to 1, I'm going to make something happen. So I'm going to, I don't know what I just did there. I'm going to hold down the Shift key, and I'm going to type in the squiggly bracket, the beginning one, and I'm going to enter down a few, and I'm going to type in the ending squiggly bracket, and I always like to tab that over, so everything within these two squiggly brackets is going to be in a loop. Alright, next thing I want to do is do when the potentiometer is greater than 700. So in your control structures, alright, so now I'm going to go over to natural language, and we want the until section, and we're looking for until the potentiometer is greater than, and I'm going to drag that into my program, and I'm going to say until the potentiometer is greater than 700, and that is located in, I called that P meter port. Next, I want to start both the motors at half speed. So I'm going to go to, not that one, the movement, and I'm going to start motor, and I'm going to actually click that in twice, because I'm starting both motors. So I'm going to start my left motor. And half speed is half 127, so about 63. And I'm going to also do that for the right motor at half speed 63. And then next I want to stop both the motors when the potentiometer is less than 100. So I'm going to go to until potentiometer is less than, drag that in, and we're going to make that position 100. And the port is the P meter again. Now we're going to stop both of our motors. So I'm going to drag that in twice. And I'm going to stop the left motor. And I'm also going to stop the right motor. Okay. Let's go ahead and compile our program to see if I did that correctly. It looks like I have no errors. So what should happen is when I turn that potentiometer greater than 700, both my motors are going to stop. When I turn that potentiometer to less than 100, both my motors are going to actually stop. And that's going to continue looping because I added this while statement. That'll keep going back and forth. I can keep turning that dial. In order to see where that dial is actually at, you will go up to Robot. And, oh, not yet. Not yet. First, we're going to download it to our robot. So make sure your cord is plugged in. Download it to your robot. And when this debugger window actually pops up, I want you to go up to Robot in that top window there and look for debugger windows and make sure the sensors window is checked. If it is checked correctly, you will see this little value here at the bottom. Mine says potentiometer and the value is currently 0. So now I'm going to go ahead and click on Start on my program. And you're not going to be able to see this from your screen. My wheel's actually turning, but you see how the value down here at the bottom is actually changing values. It's at 60 to 70 to 80. Once that gets above 700, you're probably going to hear my motor start on. See, they just started. And now I'm going to turn it the other direction. And when it gets below 100, my program stops. And then I can continue going back and forth that way. And it works. Alright. I'm going to go ahead and click on Stop. And go ahead and do your file save as. And save this as potentiometer. See you next time.